This is the fastest punch on planet Earth. It accelerates as fast as a bullet fired from a gun. It boils the water around it, and it belongs to an animal you could hold in the palm of your hand. Most people would walk right past it at the beach. The internet knows it as a meme about seeing colors. Scientists know it as one of the most over-engineered creatures that has ever existed. Because here's the first thing nobody tells you. It isn't even a shrimp. Raw shrimp belong to one group of animals. This thing belongs to a completely different one, called stomatopaa. It's closer to a crab or a lobster than to the shrimp it's named after. The mantis part is just because its folded arms look like a praying mantis. It's not related to those either. So, we gave it a name that's wrong twice, and then mostly forgot about it, but this animal has been perfecting itself for around 400 million years. That's longer than trees have existed. There are roughly 450 different species of them hiding in reefs around the world, and old fishermen who tried to handle them gave them a nickname that should have been a warning. They called them thumb splitters. They earned that name. But to understand how, you have to see what happens in less than 1,000th of a second. Tucked under its body, the peacock mantis shrimp carries two spring-loaded clubs. It doesn't swing them like an arm. It loads them like a crossbow. A built-in latch holds the club back while the muscle winds up enormous tension. Then, the latch releases, and the club fires. The whole strike from launch to impact is over in less than 800 microseconds. You could blink 50 times in the time it takes to happen once. The club accelerates at over 10,000 Gs, a fighter pilot blacks out at around 9. At the end of that swing, it delivers a force of more than 500 newtons. That's over 1,000 times the animal's own body weight. Imagine throwing a punch that hits 1,000 times harder than you weigh. It's enough to crack open crabs, snails, and clams like they're nothing. And among aquarium keepers, there's a long-running legend that the bigger ones can crack the glass of their own tanks. So, that's an absurd punch, but the punch is not actually the impressive part. The impressive part is what the punch does to the water. The club moves so fast that the water can't get out of the way. The pressure drops so violently that the water itself turns to vapor. A tiny bubble of nothing forms in the gap, and then that bubble collapses. When it does, it releases a second shockwave, a flash of light, a burst of heat, and a sharp pop of sound. Scientists measured it and found something incredible. Every single strike lands two separate hits, about half a millisecond apart. The first hit is the club. The second hit is the bubble imploding, which means the prey doesn't just get punched, it gets punched, and then physics punches it again. Here's the truly unfair part. Even if the club misses, the collapsing bubble alone can stun or kill. You don't have to land the shot to win the fight. Now stop and think about what that should do to the arm throwing it. A flash of heat, a shockwave, thousands of Gs, hundreds of times a day. Anything we build that hits that hard would shatter itself to pieces, but this animal doesn't. And that question is what dragged the engineers in. When researchers cut the club open, they found it wasn't one solid block. It was built in layers, like a spiral staircase made of mineral fibers. The outside is packed with the same mineral that's in your bones and teeth underneath. The fibers twist in a corkscrew pattern that spreads the shock out instead of letting it travel. And in 2025, a team at Northwestern University found the real trick. They fired lasers into the club to watch how vibration moved through it. The structure acts like a filter pages. It catches the exact high-frequency vibrations the punch creates and stops them from traveling back into the animal's own body. In other words, it built itself a shock absorber tuned to its own weapon. So now we're copying it. That same layered design is being studied for body armor, for helmets, for the materials in cars and aircraft. Some test versions based on this little animal have already outperformed the aerospace-grade composites we use today. Sit with that for a second. This creature accidentally engineered better armor than humans have, just so it could keep punching snails. But the weapon is only half of it, because the same animal is also carrying the most complicated eyes ever discovered. You see the world with 3 types of color sensors: red, green, and blue, mixed together into about 1,000,000 colors. This animal has up to 16. Its eyes pick up light from deep ultraviolet all the way out to the far red, whole bands of light that are completely invisible to you. Each eye sits on its own swiveling stalk, and each single eye is split into 3 parts, so one eye alone has depth perception. It would take both of yours just to match one of its. So, this is where the internet myth comes from. With 16 sensors, it must see colors we can't even dream of, right? Here's the twist. When scientists actually tested it, the mantis shrimp was worse at telling colors apart than we are. Worse, with 5 times the equipment. And, for a while, that made no sense at all. Then, they figured out what it's really doing. Your brain takes its 3 sensors and carefully compares them to fine-tune a color. It's accurate, but it's slow. The mantis shrimp doesn't compare anything. Each of its 16 sensors just fires a simple yes or no. Instantly, no math required. It traded rich color for raw speed. It doesn't need to know the exact shade of its prey. It needs to know it's there right now, in time to fire that club. The eyes are built on the exact same philosophy as the punch. React first. Think never. And there's one more thing with rights and die. They're starting the Basili could be wad. There's one more thing those eyes can do that nothing else on Earth can. They can see a hidden property of light called circular polarization. You can't. Almost nothing can. They're the only animals we know of that see it at all. They use it to spot see-through prey and to flash secret signals only other mantis shrimp can read. And, just like the armor, we're starting to borrow from this too. Researchers are using these eyes as a blueprint for new camera sensors, and exploring whether that same trick could one day help spot cancer cells a normal camera would miss. So that's 2 world-class systems, a weapon and a sensor, stacked into one animal smaller than your phone. But here's what almost no documentary ever tells you. This over-engineered killing machine has a secret soft side. For the most part, it lives completely alone. It digs a burrow, defends it, and rarely leaves. And yet, it's weirdly social for a loner. It can recognize its neighbors on sight, and even by smell. It settles fights with ritual sparring instead of killing, because both sides know exactly how that fight would end. But here's the part that breaks the whole ruthless predator image. Some species are completely monogamous. They find one partner and they stay with that partner. Scientists have tracked pairs that have been together for 20 years. They share a single burrow for life. They split the work, one guarding the eggs while the other hunts for both of them. Lifelong partnership is genuinely rare in the ocean. And this animal, the thumb splitter, the one with the bullet for an arm, is one of the few that pulls it off. And that weapon? It's not learned. Baby mantis shrimp can throw a tiny version of that same punch about 9 days after hatching. It's not trained into them. It's built in from the start. So, let's add it all up. The fastest punch on Earth, armor we're trying to reverse engineer for our soldiers. The most complex eyes ever found, pointing the way to cameras we haven't built yet, a lifelong partner, and a weapon it's born holding. And in much of the world, we mostly know it as something to eat. We're stealing its blueprints for armor and cameras, and it still ends up on a plate. The ocean's most over-engineered animal isn't the shark or the whale or anything on a poster. It's a 4-inch creature with the wrong name that almost nobody respects. Nature spent 400 million years building the perfect machine, and it disguised it as a shrimp. This is just the first one we found. There are animals out there hiding designs we haven't even started to copy yet. So, subscribe, and next time, I'll show you the next one nobody sees coming.